Right, well, good afternoon. Good to see so many happy faces in one room. I see summer's carrying on the way that we've expected it. It was like this down in Hawke's Bay when we were there this morning as well. But anyway, great that you've taken 2.5 hours out of your customer focus part of your business to actually have a look at how you can make your business better. And today's seminar is really going to be about showing you how we have been able to address the things that you talked to us about at the end of last year when we asked you the question, how can TNP help you make your business better? So that's what today's session is about. So it's not like the traditional seasonal seminar that we run where we do a whole lot of instruction. It's really about here are some initiatives that TNP is putting in place for you to help you address the issues that you said were facing you in your business. But look, before we get started, I just wanted to introduce some people in the room, some of whom you may have met before, some of whom you may not have. So first of all, at the back there, in the tamest tie he's had all week, Mike Peachy from Tower. Hi, Mike. And right at the back of the room, looking very distinguished, Mr. David Yates from TNP. Wave, Dave, so they can see you. Great. Now, Jonathan. Where's Jonathan hiding? Jonathan, you'd like to stand up. Jonathan's from Lumley, so he's going to give us an overview today as to what's happening in the PI field. Thanks very much, Jonathan. And Derek Abbott, who probably needs no introduction to anybody, but nevertheless, here he is. You'll notice when he walks with a limp at the moment. Because this is a man who has a 300 horsepower jet ski and thinks he's still 20 years old. His body disagrees. And you weren't able to defy gravity, were you, Derek? No. Brian Ferguson. Brian, could you stand up, please? Brian's from Preferred Brokers, and he's going to be here today to talking to you about how you can generate new leads for your business. That was one of the things you asked us to do for you. And of course, Mr. Trevor Longbottom from Astron. Trevor, can I ask you to come up to the front and just say a few words? Today's event is sponsored by Astron, so it's through their sponsorship that we've been able to bring this event to you. I want you to draw a picture of a lion. Don't talk to anybody beside you, just draw a picture of a lion. Okay, we've got some pretty quick drawers with some people still going. I don't want you to put every hair on the lion. So just a picture of a lion, okay? Done? All right. So now we're going to have a talk about your lion, and I'm going to be your psychologist. So looking at the lion in front of you, first of all, you had a choice as to whether you would draw that lion facing you, front on, or sideways. How many people drew the lion face on? Oh, quite a few of them. Nobody in Hawke's Bay drew theirs front on. If you drew your lion front on, that says that you're quite willing to confront fear and you're a very straightforward person. So those of you who drew the lion side on, you see the big picture in life. You're not so worried about details. Pretty darn interesting. Right, now I want to have a look at how much of the page you filled up with your lion. Has anybody filled the whole page with the lion? Oh, yes. Here we have a lion on the whole page. So that's one idea, all right? That's a whole page. So compare that to how much of the page your lion occupies. If you have your lion occupying the full page, then you're an extrovert and you're very confident around crowds. Is that true? Yes, I thought it might be. If you have a tiny little lion in the corner, it's possible that you're just a little bit timid and that sometimes socially you're a little bit unconfident. But don't let that worry you because it gets worse for you as we look at these lion traits going forward. Have a look at the ears that you drew for your lion. Did you draw any ears? Your lions don't have any ears. If your ears were pointed, then you're an analytical thinker. If your ears were rounded, then you're very playful. You're a very playful person. If you have no ears, you're not very observant. All right. Now have a look at the legs. Are the legs of your lion touching the ground or are they floating in the air? Okay? If your legs are touching the ground, that means you're a very practical type of person. You're the sort of person that somebody would ask to get the plumbing fixed with. If your lion is floating around in mid-air, then it's quite possible that you're more one of those people that just likes to think and dream and really scheme about the world. But here's the really important thing. Have a look at the size of the mane that you have drawn on your lion. Has everybody put a mane on their lion? Okay, do all lions have manes? No. Which lions don't have manes? Female line. So most of you put a main on. You'll be glad of that fact because the main tells you how good your sex drive is. So the bigger the main, and I would like to point out, gentlemen, I can see why you're sitting almost on your own in front here, and I'm a little bit worried, and I've got a table between me and you. If the main is big, then that means you've got a big sex drive. And if there's no main at all, well, I'm sorry for you, but that's just how it is. Right, we're all set to go now. So let's have a look at the agenda for the day. So first thing I'm going to do is to provide a very quick update for TNP, just to give you an idea of what's happening within TNP. And then I'm going to spend a little bit of time looking at TNP compliance. So this is looking at what we are doing to address the issues that you said were important to you in your business, and you told us that compliance was one thing that we had to get sorted better than we had previously. So we're going to talk about what we're doing there for you. I'm then going to pass over the microphone to David Yates, and David Yates is going to talk you through the TNPPA, which if you've been hiding in a cave for the last 2 days, you might not have heard of. But if you've been on good returns, then you've almost certainly heard about it. So that's the new professional association that TNP is launching this week. We're then going to pass over to Brian Ferguson, and Brian is going to talk about the number one thing that you told us you wanted in terms of helping you with your business, which was to provide opportunities for you to have leads for new clients. So he's going to show you how you can do that through TNP. Following that, Mike Petrie from Tower is going to look at the fire and general opportunity. So he's looking at how you can ring fence your clients and most importantly, how you can keep the banks out. From that, we've then got a session on professional indemnity insurance. So Lumley, Jonathan's first of all going to talk through the overall experience, and then Derek's going to look specifically at the TNP PI scheme and why you would want to be involved with that. And then Trevor's going to round off the afternoon looking at prospecting and taking the hard work out of it by how can you do some things with your existing clients that will make you more active, and how can Astron's call centre help you with that. And then very finally, I'm just going to tease you with the conference for 2012. So let's get underway. Now it's tricky because I've got two weapons. One of the first things that I wanted to talk to you about is the changing role of the BDMs within TNP. So most of you would be aware that the TNP's role traditionally has been to recruit. Most of you had your first contact with TNP through a BDM, somebody knocking on your door saying, hey, can I tell you a little bit about TNP and how that might benefit you? We feel that we've got to the stage now, and you certainly told us in the survey that it's time for the BDMs to start working with you one-on-one. You wanted to see a whole lot more of them. So what we've done is change the role of the BDMs. So a BDM's role now is to help you in your business. So the BDMs in Auckland are Mark and Rick. So one of those two will be assigned to you, and their job is to help you in your business. Also, really importantly, is we've got a new initiative this year, and again, this is what you told us in the survey that you wanted, are regional study groups. So those regional study groups are for you to talk with your peers about points of interest for you. So we've got some topics up there that we're using as possibilities. So in March, we're looking at ACC. In April, how to do effective client reviews, and etc. all the way through. So those will be held in Auckland. Rick, whereabouts in Auckland are they being held, do you know? So North Shore and in the city. Right. Now we had also hoped to have the TNP calendar for you today, but that will be available next week. Just to give you an idea, those of you who have been around TNP for a while, you know that our traditional planning process is rather like a rolling mall. So we start at the beginning there, and we look a couple of months ahead, and then we look a couple of months ahead again, and then a couple of months ahead again. Well, this year, Joe, who I forgot to introduce actually. Joe, where are you? Joe Farmer. Stand up, Joe. Joe leaves nothing to chance. I try to leave lots to chance, and she won't let me leave anything to chance. So Joe's gone and scheduled our whole year so that we know exactly what's going to happen all the way through the year, and that schedule will come through to you. So all that you need to do is to look at those dates that are important to you, get those in your diary, and then they're locked and loaded for the year. I'm going to give you that one, then I won't try and use it again. Now, One of the things that we've noticed is the banks provide the best priced product with the best benefits in the marketplace. That's true, isn't it? And advice. That's most stunning advice. Just in case that statement wasn't true, what we're doing is developing some collateral for you for a second opinion campaign. So people either in your client base or prospects in your community, you can use this material to say, if you've got a bank product, or you've got a product through the bank, it may well be worth you having a second opinion to see what you can do in terms of, number one, better pricing, and number two, better features for the products that you've got. You know full well that in most circumstances you can go in and you can get a better priced product with more features than the bank will have offered them. All we want to do is to help you open the door for that. So that campaign's coming out in either late March or early April, and you can do it either electronically, so if you're using Xplan or another database, you can do it that way, or you might choose to use printed material. So Joe's developing that campaign for us, and that will be ready to go for you, as I say, either late March or early April. Does anybody here use the SureShot newsletter facility, the electronic newsletter? No? Okay. Through the country, a couple of people have been using that. We've decided that we will do the same sort of thing in TNP. So what that basically means is that if you want a newsletter created for your clients, we will create the content at TNP. You get to do the front paragraph, so the front message to your clients, and then it's simply sent out electronically. So you can choose. Joe, how often does that get sent out?
We'll probably be doing
quarterly. Okay. So if you're one of those many, many advisors, pardon me, who at the start of the year thinks, I'm going to do my newsletters this year, I really am, I promise myself I am, but you never quite get around to it. This is a great way of somebody else taking the sting out of it for you, because all the content's written. All you have to do is to make sure that it actually goes out. And again, that will be ready late March, early April. Many of you would know that TNP started its wealth management program last year, and there's some exciting changes to that. One of the things that we've done is we've gone and combined our back room with a number of other organisations. So rather than us having all of our operations separate, we've gone to another couple of organisations and said, if we combined our operations, we can create some efficiencies here, and that will enable us all to save money. And it also gives better bargaining power with the suppliers. So we've now done that. We've created a utility company. That means that ultimately you will be able to get better deals through that as well. So if you are in the wealth management space and you've had a look at TNP's offering, it may well be worth having another look at it now. I don't think Quote Monster's come this far north, has it? Oh, you guys do use it? Of course you do. You know, you've got to take your hat off to Allied Kiwi. They've found something that really has worked well for many, many advisors. And of course you've asked us, well, what are we doing about it? And that's a fair enough question. So what we can tell you is that we are developing our own software at the moment, and that should be ready by the middle of the year. It will do everything that Quote Monster does, plus more. So you can be assured that being part of TNP, you're not going to be missing out on anything. In the meantime, of course, you can use Quote Monster, and it costs you how much? Nothing. And do you have to make any commitment to them? No. So nothing for you to lose through that, but we will have a solution for you by mid-year. How many people have the TNP dashboard set up when they do their internet exploring on their computer? One, not too many of you, right. Well, in that case, on your pad in front of you, please write down that domain name. When you set your screen to default for this, what it does is it gives you an interface with TNP. So you get good returns come automatically up on your screen. You get stuff.co.nz come automatically up on your screen. You can link straight through to TNP's website. If you've got Xplan, you can go straight into Xplan from there. You can also get the latest coffee break videos from there. So it gives you a really easy way of interfacing with TNP. So all you need to do is to put that in there and then make that your default. Now I'm going to ask you a question, and what I want to do here is just float an idea. So we've been approached by some people who are looking at doing some applications for iPads. And they've said, hey, You know, if we were able to say TNP wanted this type of application, we could go back to the suppliers and say, there is a need for this sort of thing, will you provide some funding for it to be done? This won't cost you anything, but it's something that suppliers would provide for you. So first question is, how many people in the room have got an iPad either of their own or at home that their family's got? Okay, quite a few of you. How many of you expect to have an iPad within the next 12 months? Okay, quite a few more. All right, so what I'm going to show you now is just a very brief way of you being able to educate your client at the start of an interview. So let's just imagine that you are going to meet them and you're going to talk to them about business insurance. So I'm going to have to walk in front of the screen, so forgive me for that. Hopefully that will come up on the screen. Oh, it's looking promising. Right, so what you would do is you would have a whole lot of applications that came through from the suppliers, and you would choose the ones that would work for you in the selling situation. So in this case, we're going to look at a partnership. So we'd open the document. And in this case, you're talking to the clients and you want to help them understand what the chances are of one of their partners dying in the business before the time they're 65. So let's choose some variables. Jack, how many partners are there in the business? You can choose 2, 3, or 4. 3. Jackie, the average age of the partners in the business, we can have 35, 45, 55. 45. Okay, so what it will do automatically then is to calculate what is the chance, the statistical chance of one of those partners actually dying within the business. And, you know, that's a reasonable number. You know, you couldn't just dismiss that and say, well, I don't want to talk to you about it, because that's a reasonable risk facing the business. So then you could say, well, okay, that's all very good. Let's have a look at the ramifications of you not doing anything about it. In other words, if you weren't covered. And you'll be able to go through a page like this and just go through the bullet points and talk to them about how that might apply to their situation. I won't go through them all. But, you know, there's a whole lot that you could have coming up there. And then you could say, and here's what would happen if you were covered. And up would come a very simple testimonial.
Good customer service is earning the trust of each customer I speak with. I have kids of my own, so I'm always talking about the value of video.
Yeah, now there's only so much American accent you can take, so we'll stop that there. But you can see the idea. You know, rather than just being a static brochure, it's the ability for you to let the client interact, for the client to actually touch the iPad and do the things within there. So I really just need some feedback from you as to whether you think that that's something that we should get into. I'm not saying we do it right now, but in the next 12 months, is that something that people would see value or not? So just a show of hands, who would use that type of thing? Okay, about half of you. Okay, cool. That just cost me $5 having to walk in front of there, but I didn't think we have too much option. All right, so I was also talking to you earlier on about the survey that we did with you prior to Christmas. So our BDMs went and talked to 100 TNP advisors and asked them what things are TNP doing well and what things could TNP be doing better. And you gave us a good long list of things that we were doing well, so that was encouraging. But you also gave us a number of things that you said, hey, if you solved these problems, that would make our lives an awful lot better. And one of the things that you said to us was that you're really struggling to get some clarity around what's required in terms of compliance, particularly if you're an RFA. So you were getting messages from us as to what we thought you should be doing. You were getting messages from service providers such as Strategy as to what they thought you should be doing. And you were getting messages from professional associations as to what they thought you should be doing. And most of you were feeling somewhat confused because those messages often weren't the same. So we stood back from that. We said, well, we've got a number of choices we could do here. We can just solve our little part of the puzzle, which is providing you with more compliance information. But that's not going to solve the bigger picture, which is how you create simplicity by taking some of those conflicting messages away from you. So we went and stood back from that and we said, well, what else could we do? And that's when we had a look at that and we said, well, if we were to provide as many solutions as we could under one roof, we've already got a strategic alliance with IDS, so they can do a lot of the service provider work for you. We looked at that and we said, we think there is a need for our members to have a professional association within TNP. Now, we don't expect it to be something that everybody in TNP will want to be involved in. But having gone around the country over the last 2.5 days, we're finding a lot of members are saying, wow, that is something that would really be appeal to me. So we're going to introduce that today, and David Yates is going to run through the details of exactly what the TNPPA is involved, and if you were to get involved in it, what that would mean for you. Before I do that, I want to draw your attention to one piece of the code. So when you look at the code of practice, if you look at section 23, which is the definition of all of the terms, this is the definition for what a professional body or professional association is. So you have a quick read through it and then I'll talk you through the really important parts. First half's really simple. Nobody would have any dispute with that. This word is really important. So what it's saying is a professional association requires compliance with continuing professional development or training requirements specified by the organisation. So if you are going to be a professional body in the regulated environment, CPD is not voluntary. That's what that says. It says it's a requirement. If you want to be an organisation that is going to be doing the things that need to be done in the regulated environment. So we looked at that and we thought, well, you know, one of the big advantages we've got is we're building this from scratch. So we don't have to please a whole lot of people who may not want to comply with that. We can say, here's the standard, you can either choose to belong or not to belong. But when we sat down with the FMA and we said, this is what we're looking at doing, tell us whether we can or not. The only thing that they said that we really needed to do was comply with the Act, and they said, if you have membership, you cannot have closed membership. So TNP cannot just have TNP members in its professional association. It must be open to the marketplace. So we will have differential pricing and a whole lot of benefits for you because you're a TNP member, but it has to be open to the marketplace. In our view, if you look at the professional associations in New Zealand that operate in the risk area, there is only one at the moment that you could say meets that definition, and that's the IFA. And I think even the IFA would put their hand up and say they are very good at the AFA space. They don't have a whole lot of experience in the RFA space. 95% of their members are AFAs. So if you're an RFA, that's going to be a pretty difficult space for you to probably get understood in. So we looked at that and we thought, well, we need to solve that problem for you.